Series like Fruits Basket generally go the direction of, hey, we're not going to just have 5 characters in the world because it'd feel very empty and isolated. So yeah, we're going to fill in the world with a homeroom teacher. We're going to have all these other side characters, doctors, casual classmates that we'll see every so often. And what the series will do is are going to focus on the 5 or so main characters that are going to be very relevant for the entire way through. Because usually you have limited amounts of time, and even if you don't have a limited amount of time, you feel like, hey, you should focus on the protagonist, their love interest, the potential love interest. It might be a third wheel, a love triangle, or maybe just a best friend. You then add in a friend and then another friend who might get together, and then you kind of have a recipe that a lot of series will go for. And I'm not going to say that recipe doesn't work. Some of my favorite anime like Toradora use that exact formula, where those are the main characters you focus on and all the others kind of are just there to fill in the scenes. But a show like Fruits Basket went the extra mile early on to say there is a lot of characters, and they made it look like there was going to be a lot of emphasis put on every single Zodiac member, and I firmly believe that all the Zodiacs would feel fleshed out and they'd have good stories. But I will be honest, I didn't expect a homeroom teacher to actually move me in this episode, and for her story to be just as, my eyes were just as glued watching her story play out with Mayu in this episode as anything that I've seen with Toru Honda. And that's saying a hell of a lot, but that's how good this series is that rather than just saying, hey, yes, not every single character we see in this world is going to get a deep backstory and deep present day content. It's literally impossible because there's how many students in the school, we're not going to see all their stories, let's not kid ourselves. But you absolutely can't deny that someone like Mayu has been, at the very least, in the front and center a few different times, that it feels like she has the room and potential to be someone who's interesting, but also tie into this whole family situation in an intriguing way. And the whole idea of having a best friend who you love and respect and support, who ends up with someone who you just fall in love with. It's not because you're a horrible person, a shitty person, the heart wants what the heart wants, and sometimes the heart wants what it can't get. Simply as that. She never wanted to make a move, she never wanted to tear them apart. She wanted to just say, hey, I'm happy for her, as long as she's happy, as long as he's happy, we're good. And Hattori is a really interesting character. He's an intriguing character, and I wasn't really expecting this kind of development with him in this episode, but I'm so glad we got it, because not only did we see Hsieh end up with Mayu simply because, hey, I'm bored, you want someone to hang out with you, let's just have a relationship. And it's pretty heartbreaking to see because this girl just wants affection. One of my favorite shots in this episode is where she goes to grab him on, just simple like, hey, I want to hold on to you. Not even touching the skin, grabbing the clothing. You think, oh, that's sweet, this will be the moment Shigure kind of opens up a little. We know they break up, but hey, maybe he shows some affection. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? And she stops. And it's such a sad scene, but it's good that he did that because he is the master manipulator. He is the love guru in this situation. Shigure is still a character. I have no idea what he's thinking at any given time, but in this episode, I had a pretty good understanding of where he was going in this episode. And it's quite interesting to see just the idea that, you fought so hard to protect something and not give in to your true feelings. And then you see her memories get erased, and she looks at you and say, hey, I'm glad you broke up with Shigure. He didn't seem very nice to you. He didn't seem like he was loving and nurturing, but someone like Hattori would be great for you. And that just breaks her heart because all she wanted was for her friend to be happy. It's like, those are the kinds of stories you don't expect to see with a character like Mayu, but you're so glad you saw it because it fits in the Fruits Basket formula so flawlessly, while also giving a bit of heartbreak, but also it's optimistic because Hattori wanted her to be safe and not be hurt. And as much as it sucks that you think they would have been great together had someone like Akito not be in the picture, at the same time, you can see a really bright future with him as well as Mayu, and you feel like that's where it's going to go, especially considering we see her with the short hair and she says, yeah, it's going to be a far time in the future, but eventually we'll get there. And that's just like, it's so satisfying. And that's something you don't see a lot, especially with a show with a cast as large as Fruits Basket. I say it a lot because almost every episode they show me yet another reason why this cast in theory should fall flat on its face, yet somehow is sticking the landing as if it's supernatural. You can jump off the tallest dive board and just, stick the landing and not even hurt yourself. And you're like, that shouldn't be possible, but somehow they're doing it, and they're doing it flawlessly and setting the bar for what any new anime wanting to do should aim to be. You can definitely tell probably a lot of series took reference from Fruits Basket because the fact that you have a cast as large as this and you have the time to focus in on a homeroom teacher someone who's just casually kind of looking over the bookstore, getting the talks like, hey, why don't you get a boyfriend? Why don't you get a husband? Actually, they weren't even saying boyfriend. They're just saying, hey, just go marry someone right now. And you're like, holy shit, calm down a little bit. This is something that, like, usually if you're watching something that wasn't confirmed to be a full adaptation, or this was just an original idea, you would say, do we really have time for her? Do we really have time for this? We should probably focus back on Toru, especially because she just recently got her, motivation to break the Soma curse. That's what we should focus on. Yet, I don't think many people who have made it this far into Fruits Basket who have enjoyed it, because if you're not enjoying Fruits Basket, I don't know why you'd be at episode, 37, something like that at this point in time. Seems like you probably don't want to be watching if that's the case. If you reach this far, you're probably enjoying the formula quite a bit. And the fact that I don't feel rushed to get back into Toru's content, or feel rushed to see Akito again and see what this bastard is planning. The fact that we can just say, hey, Mayu, that's going to be the focus. And yes, you can say, well, it tied into Hattori, which is a main Zodiac member, so it still feels very relevant to the main cast. At the same time, we didn't see him all that much. It was very much focused on a love for a girl who couldn't love someone and thought that that was fine, and then in doing so ended up with him some way or another after the help of the manipulation from our boy Shigure. And I love his prankster persona. I love how he literally sets things up like he's playing 5D chess, but to him it probably feels like playing checkers. He literally just sets the stage so flawlessly, like how he told her that he had a girlfriend, even though I'm just like, this boy, he knows what he wants, and that's what makes his plans frightening, because there's plans we don't know what he's trying to manipulate and how he's doing it. So if he's not doing things for good reasons, oh god, Toru, run for the hills, or, pat him on the back for being on your side. We still don't know, and I love that. But that whole conversation with her just kind of like breaking down and crying like a child, especially considering how just previously, you have that old woman being like, oh, that crying child, it's horrible, and I'm thinking, Grandma, you're more annoying than that child, get the hell walking. But it was really nice because he's someone who really just needs to do that, cry like a child, break down and feel just sad. He wants to feel sad, but he's always this kind of like, he doesn't show much emotion, he just keeps walking, keeps the ball moving. And to see someone who he has a connection with kind of break down like a child, it's almost like, he doesn't get it 100%, but he kind of feels like that's what I want to do as well, let's go get a bite to eat. The weirdest pickup line ever, but it kind of works for both of their characters quite flawlessly. Fruits Basket is this kind of show that it doesn't make you say you need to see your favorite character, and that's a weird thing to say because I don't have too many series that I've watched, even outside of the anime medium, where I'm like, hey, I'm enjoying this content, but you throw my favorite character in right now, I'm not going to be complaining if we shift focus. With Fruits Basket, I don't really recall feeling that, and if I did, it was in the very early stages when we're still getting to know characters, like Momiji. I was like, oh yeah, this is a very tropey design, let's see someone else. But past that, and obviously I don't think that anymore, and someone just randomly jump onto this video, I like all the characters. They've since then evolved and grown, and I've changed my opinion, so don't get it twisted. But when I see a character like her and just her story, I was like, I didn't need to see Toru. I didn't need to see a single Zodiac member. As soon as I saw it was going to be her episode, I was convinced I'd be okay with it. I was like, this is going to be interesting. We could literally stick into a bookstore and it would be completely fine 100% because Fruits Basket knows how to make the realistic, just mundane aspects of life intriguing because there's always some form of trauma and just an objective for them to overcome, and it always is intriguing, and that's something that I really appreciate. I think ever since seeing Toru's best friends and just seeing that they weren't just disposable side characters for her to interact with when she was in her class, it showed to me that this was definitely going to be a show that's not even just going to give the Somas their chance to shine and feel like characters and have character arcs and things like that, but literally if anyone has a deep enough, or not even I'm gonna say deep enough, just a decent connection with Toru or one of these characters, there's a very strong chance they can have an episode dedicated to them. And I'm not complaining because we know it's a full adaptation. We know we're getting a season 3. They confirmed that before the first season even started airing that this was going to be a complete retelling that the mangaka was going to oversee and make sure it was done properly and done with care. It just feels great. It feels like it's becoming one of my favorite anime of all time. It feels like it's going to be a staple of what a lot of anime studios are going to look at in terms of reference material, because even though the manga is a classic, not every new anime studio and director are going to look at a manga. They might say, oh shit, people really like that Fruits Basket. We didn't think they would because of the style it is. Maybe we should take reference in terms of how they're doing that deep character drama, in terms of romantic undertones and things like that, and maybe we should reference that for our new original anime. I think it's definitely going to bring about a new wave of like curiosity and creativity the same way it brought in a new generation of Fruits Basket fans like myself. This episode was great. It was not trying to be flashy, it wasn't trying to be overly dramatic, it was just trying to be raw and real about loving someone who you feel like you shouldn't love, and if you do, you're gonna hold it back for your friend's sake. And then she gets her memory erased and she tells you that you should love him, and you're just like, why is the world so cruel? This is an interesting series, to say the least, and I'm so excited to see what they're going to throw at us next week, because I never watch previews, I never read up on what the next episode is. It's always a blast walking in and seeing like, oh, Mayu? Sure, show me a Mayu episode, and they always stick the landing without a doubt in my mind. But as always, let me know your thoughts and opinions, be it for source material readers or anime originals like myself. What did you think of the direction this episode took, and what do you think of how the episode wrapped up with the very optimistic and cute date that they do go on? Do let me know. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.